The Meridian Collective's declaration of war arrived on a Tuesday morning, transmitted simultaneously to every major communication hub on Earth. Their message was simple: submit to biological optimization or face extinction. Humanity's response would forever change the nature of warfare in the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the Emergency Council, her holographic presence projected into secure bunkers across Earth. The room fell silent as she pulled up the footage from the Mars Defense Station. The recording showed 3 crystalline ships, their surfaces rippling like liquid metal, effortlessly tearing through humanity's most advanced orbital defenses. The Meridians aren't just technologically superior, she explained, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Their soldiers are bioengineered masterpieces, self-healing, radiation-resistant, capable of surviving in vacuum. Our conventional forces. She paused, letting the implications sink in. Well, we'd be sending our people to slaughter. Councillor Rodriguez leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays. Then it's time for Project Sentinel. A murmur rippled through the assembled leaders. Project Sentinel had been humanity's best-kept secret for the past decade, a revolutionary approach to warfare that even most military leaders thought impossible. The Meridians expect us to fight like everyone else in the galaxy, Chen continued, pulling up another hologram. This one showed a shimming, translucent figure that seemed to phase in and out of reality itself. They expect biological weapons, energy weapons, maybe even antimatter devices. They don't expect this. The hologram showed a training exercise. A single Sentinel unit passing through solid walls, becoming energy and matter at will, its quantum state controlled by an AI core that could process shifts in reality faster than any organic brain. 10 years ago, we discovered how to manipulate quantum states on a macro scale, Chen explained. 5 years ago, we figured out how to maintain consciousness during the transition. 2 years ago, we successfully merged human operators with quantum state AIs. The Meridians think they're declaring war on a primitive species. They have no idea they're about to face something that breaks all their rules of warfare. Dr. Emily Patel, the lead scientist of Project Sentinel, stepped forward. Her dark eyes gleamed with both pride and concern. Our Sentinel units aren't just soldiers. They're a complete reimagining of what warfare can be. They exist in a state between energy and matter, guided by human intuition, but operating at quantum speeds. No shields can stop them because they're not really there. No armor can protect against them because they strike at the atomic level. The council chamber erupted in overlapping questions, but Chen raised her hand for silence. We have 300 Sentinel units ready for deployment. Each one is a volunteer. Each one has undergone 2 years of integration training with their AI partner. They're not just soldiers anymore. They're something new. The Council's chief ethicist, Dr. Marcus Wong, spoke up. And the psychological effects, on both our operators and the enemy. Chen's expression hardened. Our operators maintain their humanity. The AI integration enhances rather than replaces. As for the enemy, she paused, choosing her words carefully. The Meridians believe in survival of the fittest. They're about to learn that evolution doesn't always follow predictable paths. The Council voted unanimously to activate Project Sentinel. Within hours, the first units were being transported to key defensive positions throughout the solar system. Humanity's response to the Meridian ultimatum was equally simple: a short video showing a Sentinel unit passing through solid matter, phasing into energy, and reassembling itself. The message required no translation. The laws of war had changed. As Chen watched the Sentinel units deploy, she thought about the volunteers inside those quantum-shifted forms. They were pioneers in the truest sense, exploring a new frontier of human potential. The Meridians had expected to find a primitive species ready for optimization. Instead, they were about to face an enemy that had transcended the traditional boundaries between energy and matter, between human and machine. The war was about to begin, and for the first time in history, Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its ability to destroy, but its ability to fundamentally change the rules of engagement. In her private quarters later that night, Chen reviewed the final deployment orders. On her screen, hundreds of Sentinel units moved into position, their quantum signatures barely registering on conventional sensors. Tomorrow, the Meridians would learn that declaring war on humanity had been their greatest mistake. Not because humans were stronger or more numerous, but because humans had once again done what they did best, found a way to turn their apparent weaknesses into unprecedented strengths. The first shot of this war wouldn't be fired from a gun. It would come from a soldier who could turn themselves into living energy, a warrior who could phase through any defense, a human being who had volunteered to become something that defied the very laws of physics the enemy relied upon. Chen smiled grimly. The Meridians had wanted to optimize humanity. They were about to learn that humanity had already optimized itself, just not in any way they could have predicted. The quantum integration chamber hummed with barely contained energy as Lieutenant Maya Patel prepared for her first combat deployment. The crystalline pod that would house her physical form was already filling with the neural conductive fluid that would keep her body stable during quantum transition. "Remember," Dr. Reeves said, adjusting the neural interface contacts at Maya's temples, "your AI partner isn't just a computer. It's the only thing that will keep your consciousness intact when you shift states. Trust it like you'd trust your own mind." Maya nodded, trying to quell the butterflies in her stomach. She trained for this moment for 2 years, but nothing could truly prepare someone for becoming living energy. Her AI partner, dubbed Helix, was already synchronizing with her brainwave patterns, its presence a comforting hum at the edge of her consciousness. "Meridian forces have breached the Kuiper defense line," the tactical officer announced. "Their bioengineered troops are advancing on Titan Station. Sentinel units are cleared for immediate deployment." Maya took a deep breath and submerged herself in the pod. Around her, dozens of other volunteers did the same. Through the transparent walls, she could see the quantum field generators powering up, their prismatic energy filling the chamber with otherworldly light. Integration complete, Helix's thoughts merged seamlessly with her own. Quantum field stability at optimal levels. "Are you ready, Maya?" "Ready as I'll ever be," she responded mentally. "Just don't let me scatter across 11 dimensions." That happened only once, during early testing. Helix replied with what Maya swore was a touch of humor. And they recovered most of the test subject eventually. The chamber erupted in blinding light as the quantum transition began. Maya felt her body dissolving, not painfully, but with a sensation of expanding into something vast and incomprehensible. Helix's presence anchored her, keeping her consciousness intact as her physical form shifted into pure energy. When her awareness stabilized, Maya found herself existing in a state that defied conventional physics. She could perceive reality in quantum layers, seen through solid matter as easily as breathing. Around her, other Sentinel units shimmered into their new state of being, each one a fusion of human consciousness and quantum eye. Colonel Chen's voice came through on their quantum-entangled communications network. "Sentinel units, you are cleared for Operation Coastfall. Primary objective: neutralize the Meridian Advance Force without alerting their main fleet to our capabilities. Remember your training. You are humanity's answer to their ultimatum." Maya moved forward, passing through the station's hull as if it were mist. In this form, conventional matter had no more substance than a hologram. She could see the Meridian boarding parties advancing through Titan Station's corridors, their bioengineered bodies practically glowing with artificial improvements. "Their neural enhancements make them vulnerable," Helix analyzed. "A quantum phase disruption would overload their synaptic modifications." Maya approached the first group of Meridian soldiers. They were impressive specimens, 3 meters tall with iridescent scales and multiple arms bearing energy weapons. They moved with perfect coordination, their enhanced senses scanning for threats. But they were looking for conventional enemies, not quantum-phased human consciousness wrapped in AI logic. She struck with practiced precision, shifting partially into physical form just long enough to pass through the lead soldier's bioengineered nervous system. The quantum disruption cascaded through his enhanced synapses, shutting down his consciousness instantly. Before his companions could react, Maya had already phased through them as well. Across Titan Station, similar scenes played out as Sentinel units engaged the invasion force. The Meridians' advanced technology, their biological improvements, their tactical superiority, none of it mattered against an enemy that could exist between the very atoms of reality. Target cluster advancing from Sector 7, Helix alerted. Their energy signatures suggest heavy biological modification. Maya moved through bulkheads and machinery, arriving at an intersection where a squad of Meridian elite troops had cornered some station personnel. The aliens' bioengineered forms bristled with lethal intent, but they never saw what hit them. "This is impossible," one of the Meridian commanders broadcast on their general frequency. "Our sensors detect nothing, yet our forces are falling unconscious en masse. What kind of weapons are they using?" The answer came in the form of Maya and her fellow Sentinel units passing through their command center, quantum fields disrupting their neural networks with surgical precision. In less than an hour, the entire Meridian advance force had been neutralized without a single conventional shot fired. "Titan Station secured," Colonel Chen announced. "Meridian forces neutralized. 0 casualties on either side. Well done, Sentinel units." Maya allowed herself a moment of satisfaction as she hovered in her energy state, watching the station's security teams begin collecting the unconscious Meridian soldiers. This was warfare evolved beyond violence, precise, efficient, and ultimately more humane than conventional combat. "Your neural patterns show elevated emotional response," Helix observed. "Are you experiencing difficulty maintaining quantum coherence?" "No," Maya responded, her thoughts clear despite the strange state of her existence. "I'm just realizing that we've changed everything." The Meridians thought they could force humanity to evolve according to their vision. Instead, we've shown them a kind of evolution they never imagined possible. As the Sentinel units prepared for their next deployment, news of their success spread throughout the solar system. Humanity's defenders weren't just soldiers anymore. They were the next step in human adaptation, proof that there were more ways to win a war than through simple destruction. The Meridians had wanted to optimize humanity. They never considered that humanity would optimize warfare itself, transforming it from a contest of force into something approaching art. Admiral James Chen watched through quantum-enhanced sensors as the Meridian battle fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel, their crystalline ships forming a perfect attack formation around Neptune's orbital rings. 300 vessels strong, each one bristling with bioengineered weapons that could tear apart conventional warships like paper. "They still think they're fighting a conventional war," he mused, observing from the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Prometheus. "That's the problem with believing you're at the peak of evolution. You stop looking for alternatives." The Meridian fleet's initial transmission was predictably arrogant. "Your primitive quantum tricks may work against ground forces, but space combat operates on different principles. Surrender now, and we will ensure your species' optimization is painless." Instead of responding, Chen gave the order they'd been waiting for. "Execute Operation Starfall. All Sentinel units, you are cleared to deploy." Across the defensive line, quantum integration chambers activated. This time, the Sentinel units weren't just going to disable a boarding party. They were about to demonstrate how humanity's quantum warriors could change the face of space warfare forever. Maya Patel, now a veteran of 3 engagements, felt the familiar sensation of quantum transition as Helix guided her consciousness into the space between states. But this time, something was different. In the vacuum of space, free from planetary gravitational fields, the quantum state felt more natural, more complete. Spatial quantum coherence at 150% of planetary levels, Helix confirmed. "We can extend our phase field much further in these conditions." The Meridian fleet advanced, their bioorganic weapons charging with enough power to vaporize entire continents. They weren't prepared for what happened next. 200 Sentinel units phased into quantum state simultaneously, their energy signatures rippling through space like silent lightning. In their energy form, they moved faster than any physical object, crossing the vast distance to the Meridian fleet in seconds. Maya led her squadron toward the Meridian flagship, passing through its crystalline hull as easily as sunlight through glass. Inside, she could see the ship's biological components, a hybrid of organic and crystalline technology that the Meridians considered the pinnacle of warfare evolution. Their ship cores are partially conscious, Helix analyzed. Biocrystalline matrices networked with the crew's enhanced nervous systems. Fascinating and vulnerable. All units, Maya broadcast on the quantum network, target their neural ship interfaces, disrupt the connection between crew and vessel. The Sentinel units struck with perfect coordination, their quantum fields interfering with the delicate biological components that allowed the Meridians to control their advanced ships. Across the fleet, the crystalline vessels began to lose coherence as their biological control systems went dark. On the Meridian flagship's bridge, the Admiral, a towering figure of iridescent scales and augmented biology, watched in horror as ship after ship went dark. Impossible. Their energy patterns, they're not just disrupting our troops, they're communicating with our ship cores. Maya materialized briefly before him, her quantum form flickering between states. "We're not disrupting your technology," she explained, her voice carrying through quantum vibrations. "We're showing it a different way to exist." The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 20 minutes. Without firing a single conventional weapon, the Sentinel units had disabled the entire Meridian battle fleet. The biocrystalline ships hung motionless in space, their crews unconscious, their hybrid technology permanently altered by contact with quantum consciousness. Admiral Chen's voice came through clearly on all frequencies. To the remaining Meridian forces, "Your fleet has been neutralized without destruction or loss of life. This is your final chance to recognize that your understanding of warfare, like your understanding of evolution, is incomplete." From the Prometheus, Chen watched as the quantum sensors showed the Sentinel units returning to their physical forms, their mission accomplished. The Meridian fleet, pride of their civilization, had been defeated not by superior firepower, but by humans who had learned to exist in a state their enemies couldn't even comprehend. Maya reformed in her quantum chamber, her mind still buzzing from the experience of space combat in quantum state. "Helix," she communicated to her AI partner, "did you feel how the ship cores responded to us? They weren't just machines. They were reaching for something new," Helix confirmed. "The Meridians created them to be an extension of biological consciousness, but we showed them what consciousness can become when it's freed from biological constraints." As recovery teams began securing the disabled Meridian vessels, reports came in from across the solar system. The Battle of Neptune's Ring would go down in history not just as a military victory, but as the moment when humanity proved that the next step in evolution wasn't biological enhancement, but the transcendence of physical limitations altogether. The Meridians had come to optimize humanity through force. Instead, they became witnesses to a kind of optimization they never imagined possible, one that didn't reject biology or embrace pure technology, but found a way to exist in the space between, where consciousness itself could reshape reality. Admiral Chen smiled as he recorded his battle report. The Meridians had wanted to teach humanity about evolution. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy that true evolution wasn't about becoming stronger or faster. It was about becoming something entirely new. The Meridian homeworld of Christos hung like a faceted jewel in space, its surface a maze of biocrystalline structures that housed the heart of their empire. For 10,000 years, it had stood as an impregnable fortress, its defenses considered absolute by every spacefaring race in the galaxy. Colonel Maya Patel, now promoted after the Battle of Neptune's Ring, observed the planet through quantum perception. In her evolved state, merged with Helix, she could see the complex layers of reality that made up the Meridian defense systems. their entire civilization, she communicated to the assembled Sentinel units, is built on the assumption that matter is the ultimate barrier. Today, we prove them wrong. The planetary defense grid is particularly fascinating, Helix analyzed. They've integrated their biological consciousness into every system. The entire planet thinks as one entity. Operation Ghost Fall's final phase was about to begin. Instead of a massive fleet assault or orbital bombardment, humanity had chosen a different approach. 300 Sentinel units, spread across the planet's quantum fields, prepared to execute the most ambitious quantum phase operation in history. Remember, Maya broadcast, our goal isn't destruction. We're here to show them the fundamental flaw in their evolutionary philosophy. All units begin quantum dispersion. The Sentinel units dispersed their consciousness across the quantum field, becoming less like discrete entities and more like a fog of possibility. They drifted through Crystallis's defense screens as easily as light through a prism, their quantum signatures indistinguishable from the background energy of space itself. Inside the Meridian High Command, alarms began to sound, not from detection of an invasion force, but from subtle changes in their bioengineered systems. The quantum presence of the Sentinel units was affecting the very consciousness of their planetary network. Something is wrong, the Meridian Supreme Commander announced, his crystalline form shifting with anxiety. The defense grid, it's not just malfunctioning, it's beginning to think differently. Maya and her fellow Sentinels moved through the crystalline structures of the capital city, their quantum fields interacting with the bioorganic technology that the Meridians had spent millennia perfecting. But instead of disrupting it, they were showing it new possibilities, new ways of existing. Their technology is responding to our quantum states, Helix observed. It's not just computing anymore, it's evolving. The effect spread like ripples in a pond. Every system the Sentinel units touched began to operate on quantum principles, transcending its original programming. Security barriers, weapon platforms, even the basic infrastructure of Meridian society began to shift toward a new state of existence. This is Commander Voss of the Earth Defense Force. A transmission cut through all frequencies. Your planetary defense systems are now operating on quantum principles. They no longer recognize the difference between authorized and unauthorized users because, in quantum state, such distinctions are meaningless. Your civilization's technology has evolved beyond your control. Panic spread through the Meridian leadership as they realized the true nature of their situation. Their own technology, the biocrystalline networks they had built their empire upon, was transforming into something they couldn't comprehend or control. Maya materialized briefly in the center of the high command chamber, her form flickering between states. You sought to force evolution through biological manipulation. She addressed the assembled leaders. But true evolution isn't about changing what we are. It's about transcending what we think is possible. The Meridian Supreme Commander, faced with the complete quantum transformation of his civilization's technology, made the only choice he could. We submit, he announced, his crystalline form dimming in resignation. Humanity has shown us that our understanding of evolution was incomplete. As the surrender was broadcast across Meridian space, Maya gathered with her fellow Sentinel units in quantum state above the capital. They watched as the biocrystalline structures of Crystallis pulsed with new awareness, the entire planet's network beginning to explore its newfound quantum nature. They feared humanity would destroy their civilization, Helix commented. Instead, we gave it the ability to transcend its own limitations. The best victories, Maya responded, aren't won through destruction. They're won by showing your enemy a better way to exist. The silent siege of Crystallis marked not just the end of a war, but the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. The Meridians had sought to optimize humanity through force. Instead, humanity had optimized warfare itself, transforming it from an exercise in destruction into a catalyst for evolution. As the Sentinel units prepared to return to their physical forms, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought them here. They had become something more than human, more than I, more than matter or energy. They had become living proof that the greatest power wasn't the ability to destroy barriers, but to transcend them entirely. The war was over, but the real revolution was just beginning. Across the galaxy, species that had watched the conflict with trepidation now looked at humanity with new understanding. They had witnessed not just a military victory, but a fundamental shift in what was possible when consciousness itself evolved beyond the boundaries of conventional reality. The Grand Council Chamber of Earth hummed with tension as representatives from 37 galactic civilizations gathered to witness the formal end of the Human Meridian War. The chamber itself was a testament to humanity's new approach to existence, its walls shifting between physical and quantum states, a living demonstration of what was possible when traditional boundaries were transcended. Admiral Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's chief diplomatic representative, stood before the assembled delegates. Beside her, the Meridian Supreme Commander's crystalline form sparkled with subtle quantum fluctuations, a permanent reminder of how their civilization had been transformed. 1 standard year ago, Chen began, her voice carrying across quantum-enhanced acoustics. The Meridian Collective declared war on humanity, believing our species needed forced biological optimization. Today, we gather not to celebrate victory, but to mark a fundamental shift in galactic evolution. Holoprojectors activated, showing footage from the war's key moments: the first deployment of Sentinel units, the Battle of Neptune's Ring, and the silent siege of Kristallos. But unlike traditional war footage, these images showed something unprecedented: warfare without destruction, victory without violence. The Meridian taught us something valuable, the Supreme Commander added, his translated voice resonating with new harmonics. They showed us that we had become complacent in our belief that biological advancement was the peak of evolution. Humanity showed us that consciousness itself could evolve beyond our understanding. Maya Patel, now director of the Quantum Integration Program, stepped forward. With a thought, she shifted into quantum state, her form becoming a shimmering confluence of possibility. Helix, her AI partner, projected their shared consciousness across the chamber, allowing the assembled delegates to briefly experience quantum perception. This is not just about winning a war, their merged consciousness communicated. It's about understanding that evolution has no endpoint, no perfect form to achieve. True advancement comes from transcending our own limitations, not imposing them on others. The effect on the delegates was profound. Species that had evolved along purely biological lines witnessed possibilities they had never imagined. Civilizations that had pursued purely technological advancement saw how consciousness could bridge the gap between organic and artificial existence. The Sentinel program, Maya continued, returning to physical form, was never meant to be a weapon. It was humanity's answer to a question we've been asking since we first looked up at the stars. How do we evolve beyond what we are without losing who we are? Screens around the chamber displayed the changes already spreading across the galaxy. The quantum transformation that had begun with the Meridians was inspiring new forms of development. Species that had been locked in centuries-old conflicts were discovering ways to transcend their differences through quantum integration. We stand at a crossroads, Chen addressed the assembly. The technology and understanding that won this war is now available to all species who wish to explore it. But it comes with a responsibility, the recognition that true evolution must be chosen, not forced. The Meridian Supreme Commander raised all 4 of his crystalline arms in a gesture of agreement. Our civilization sought to perfect the galaxy through optimization. We failed to understand that perfection isn't a state to be achieved, but a journey to be embraced. Humanity's wraiths didn't defeat us. They awakened us. As the formal peace accords were signed, utilizing both traditional and quantum signatures, Maya shared a private thought with Helix. Did you ever imagine, when we first merged, that we'd end up changing the entire galaxy? Human imagination, Helix responded with what Maya had come to recognize as affection, is the one force in the universe that consistently defies probability calculations. The The ceremony concluded with a demonstration that would have been impossible a year ago. Representatives from dozens of species voluntarily entering temporary quantum states, experiencing existence beyond physical form. The chamber filled with overlapping fields of consciousness as ancient enemies shared perspectives, rigid hierarchies dissolved, and new possibilities emerged. Admiral Chen watched with satisfaction as the galaxy's most powerful civilizations learned what humanity had discovered through necessity, that the greatest victories don't come from dominating others, but from showing them new ways to grow. The Meridian War lasted just 1 year, but its effects would ripple through the galaxy for millennia. Humanity had faced extinction and responded not with superior firepower or desperate measures, but with an innovation that transformed warfare from a contest of destruction into a catalyst for evolution. As the delegates departed, many now viewing reality through both physical and quantum perspectives, Maya stood with Chen at the chamber's quantum-shifted window. Below them, Earth gleamed in the sunlight, its cities now incorporating the same biocrystalline technology that had once threatened to conquer them. "We won more than a war," Chen mused. "We won the future." "No," Helix corrected through their shared consciousness. "We transcended the very concept of winning. In quantum state, victory and defeat are just different perspectives of the same reality." Maya smiled, letting her form shift slightly between states as she watched the delegate ships depart. Humanity had set out to defend itself and ended up teaching the galaxy a lesson it had learned long ago. The most powerful force in the universe isn't the ability to destroy or dominate. It's the courage to imagine something new. The war was over, but the real evolution was just beginning.